4 minutes on the clock now. No sign of a Fluminense revival as of yet. Credit to the goalkeeper Fabio. He's showing big resistance at the back to keep the Brazilian side in this one. There's a number of big saves in this second half already. And Manchester City look to go and kill the game off. And Felipe Melo testing out his strength, and he has a bit of a square off with Bernardo Silva. Silva almost dispossessed him right on the edge of his 6-yard box. It would have been a certain goal if Melo lost the ball there, but Melo won a free kick, and then there was a bit of a showdown between Felipe Melo and Bernardo Silva. Of course, he's Portuguese, Silva, so he'll be well able to exchange words with these Brazilian players. As Ganzo plays the ball back to his fullback, and the ball's launched long up towards John Kennedy once again, but Kennedy again still waiting for his first proper involvement in this game as a Manchester City player nips in front of him, and City are on the move once more. Rodri, forward pass to Rico Lewis, enjoying himself out there, the teenager. What a big stage to be playing on as an 18-year-old, Club World Cup final. And he's fouled by Marcelo. That's naughty from Marcelo. He's left it on the youngster there, and referee correctly reaches for a yellow card for the first time this evening. And there was certainly a little bit of malice in that from Marcelo. He's gone right through the back of Rico Lewis, I think that's what you'd describe as a reducer. It's a free kick and a yellow card. City have already taken that free kick. John Stones showing some nice footwork, swivels one way and the other. He finds a pass to the edge of the area to Jack Grealish. Grealish with the ball into the box for Foden. Foden to Rico Lewis. Lewis was closed down by Marcelo, but he showed no fear, Lewis, despite taking a strong tackle from Marcelo just moments ago. Kyle Walker knocked off his feet over on the far side from Arias. Arias has been the real bright spark in this Fluminense team so far. He drives into the Manchester City half. He's got them well up the pitch here, the winger. Marcelo going in the wrong direction now. Eventually gets the forward pass again. He finds Martinelli. Martinelli out to John Kennedy, who's come wide. Some nice footwork, some nice dribbling. And Kennedy runs into the tackle of Rodri, but the referee feels that that was Kennedy running into the back of Rodri compared to anything else, so play goes on. But Manchester City a little bit careless at the back. Not too often we've said that in the game so far, and Fluminense have it back in the Manchester City half. Ganzo to Nino, back with Ganzo again. That pass left a little bit short, but a tackle from Bernardo Silva only helps the ball into the path of Arias. Arias tried to play one into Kennedy, and it ricochets around the penalty area and into the gloves of Ederson. Ederson quickly rolls one right down the centre of the pitch to Phil Foden. Rico Lewis wasn't looking at that. He was talking to one of his teammates about something else, and he missed the pass there, Rico Lewis. But luckily for him, Kyle Walker is quick enough to get back and make up the ground. A little bit of inexperience from Lewis, and he's just going through a rocky spell in the game. Maybe he's been shaken by that tackle from Marcelo, because he's just given the ball away cheaply there, Rico Lewis. Heading towards the hour mark. I wonder if Pep Guardiola might consider changing the young man in the next little while. Had a good game up until now, but that's just a few mistakes in quick succession from him there, the man from Bury. Fluminense in possession in the Manchester City half. This Felipe Melo gets it back from Andre, who did switch off, I have to say, in the lead up to that second goal for Manchester City. He allowed Phil Foden to run off his shoulder, didn't follow the run of Foden. It was Foden's cross then that resulted in Nino's own goal. So perhaps Andre feels he's a bit of making up to do, but I'm afraid the forward pass towards Marcelo results in very little. City have the ball again. Rodri, lovely ball to Rico Lewis. What can Lewis do now? On the attack here, Rico Lewis. He's in the opposition half. He plays a simple ball out to his right hand side to Bernardo Silva. Silva into the penalty area, gives it back to Lewis. Lewis tries to play it across the 6-yard box. Good challenge and interception from Felipe Melo. It'll be a throw in, and we are going to see a substitution here. As we reach the hour mark, it's going to be a double change at the very least by Fluminense, and Marcelo He is going to be replaced here. 6-time winner of this competition. He heads off. Felipe Melo heads off as well, and Ganzo as well. Those 3 players go off. Alexander, Diogo Barbosa and Lima all come on here for the Brazilian side. Alexander, 20-year-old, he's capped at under 23 level by Brazil. Didn't feature in the semi-final. He's getting a run out in this final now. It's been a real breakthrough season for him as well, Alexander, because he only made 3 league appearances last season. He's made 19 league appearances this season, and now he's rewarded with an outing on the big stage. And as I predicted, Rico Lewis, he's had a good game, but perhaps it's time now for a bit of experience to come on and see out this FIFA Club World Cup final, and exactly what the doctor ordered in that regard, with Kovacic coming on here for Manchester City. We've just seen his ex-Real Madrid teammate replace there Marcelo, who's won this competition, as I said, 6 times. Mateo Kovacic, if things stay as they are now with Manchester City leading by 2-0, he'll be collecting this title for the 5th time in his career. He won it 3 times at Real Madrid, and he won it back a few years ago with Chelsea. He scored his first Manchester City goal in the semi-final win against Urawa Reds, following his €29 million move in the summer from the Blues. From one Blues to the other. It's the Sky Blues, the Citizens. Manchester City with a corner here. Outswinger towards Stones. Stones got his head on it but couldn't direct it goal bound. That one will run behind for a Fluminense goal kick. This Brazilian player down inside the penalty area here. Might just delay the restart slightly. Again, a bit of blocking going on in there from that Manchester City corner, and it looks like Nino, he's had a luckless evening so far, scoring the own goal to put City 2 in front, and now he's down holding his knee as well after running into a little bit of traffic inside that penalty area off the Manchester City corner. Of those other subs that come on for Fluminense, Lima, 27-year-old attacking midfielder, he came on as a sub in the semi-final win against Al Ahly. He's featured in 35 of the 38 league games this season. He missed 2 games through yellow card suspensions. He's booked 12 times in all competitions this season, so he's no stranger to a yellow card, Lima. Perhaps one to look out for off the bench here. They're trying to play their way out of a tight situation there, up against their own left-hand or right-hand corner flag. More ricochets behind for a Fluminense goal kick. Fluminense go long with the goal kick up towards John Kennedy. He was challenged in the air by Ake. Neither player really came out on top there. The ball kind of squirted away from the 2 of them. They both got something on it. The loose ball breaks the way though of the Brazilian side. Ball down the right hand line now for Samuel Javier, the Fluminense fullback. Has a bit of a run at Jack Grealish but quickly forced back, and again he's playing in the wrong direction. And Grealish, he's been on the end of a few little naughty tackles. I think Grealish exerting some revenge there. He's just had a little bit of a coming together with Javier. The referee didn't give anything, but just the smallest of shoves in the back from Grealish, the fullback there for Fluminense, making a lot of it. Suggests some mind games going on there. It certainly seems for whatever reason that Grealish has been targeted out there. He's rubbed them up the wrong way for whatever reason. Now the substitute Lima with a nice turn of foot to perhaps open up an opportunity for Kennedy. Kennedy surrounded by 4-5 Manchester City players in the box. He can't get a shot away as much as he tried. Tried to bulldoze his way goal bound there, but just the space wouldn't open up for him. But a good impact there from the sub Lima, and they certainly seem to have more of a focal point up there now with Kennedy. They seem to be happy to try and feed that ball up to him and get him latching onto the ball and holding onto it and getting players involved. The ball's out wide again with Lima. Looks a tricky operator. Lima having a run here at Nathan Ake. Tries to stick it through the legs of Ake, but Ake closes his legs and wins the ball back for Manchester City. John Kennedy comes flying in with a tackle on Aki. It looked a little bit two-footed. The defender certainly wasn't happy with it. Referee was more than happy to let play go on. Eventually the ball spins up into the air where it's gathered by Ederson. But they are not shy of a full-blooded tackle, these Fluminense players, I can tell you that. As Ederson hurls the ball out, shocks it out, and it's a really good ball. And it's flicked on out wide now towards Bernardo Silva. Silva waiting for support to come. It eventually arrives in the form of Phil Foden. Manchester City 47 in possession here. Kyle Walker back to Foden again. Rodri's come short and receives. He plays a 1-2 with Foden. Foden happy to keep it. He goes back to Ruben Diaz. Diaz to Rodri, who again drops short to receive. Kovacic, there's one of his first touches off the bench. Rodri sends the ball out wide to Bernardo Silva. He has to try and get past Alexander. Decides not to take on the fresh legs of the 20-year-old, and he instead keeps possession for Manchester City. Ake just took a sloppy first touch, and then he was under pressure, and as he tried to play a forward pass, he got under it and got too much backlift on it. Goes over the top of the head of his intended target and out for a throw into Fluminense, which is already taken. Touch there for Nino. It's out wide now with Javier. Javier finds Arias. John Kennedy plays the ball out wide here, and across into the area, but Ederson again read the danger so well. Before the cross was even played, he was sprinting off his line, and when the cross did come into the box, Ederson was there unchallenged and ready to gather, and he very quickly distributes the ball, and City are on the attack. This has all come from Ederson's quick thinking. Grealish, left hand side of the penalty area, just outside the box. Kovacic. Rodri. City work it from left out towards the right. John Stones central now with Rodri. Stones gets it back. He plays another pass to Rodri. Nathan Ake very quickly closed down by Arias. Good pressure from Fluminense, but City still have it now with Kovacic. He's just added a sense of composure to the midfield with all of his experience. Walker just had Bernardo Silva on the stretch, but Silva nippy enough to keep it in play. Passes it to Foden. Back to Silva, back to Walker. Inside now with Rodri. Rodri met with a strong tackle from John Kennedy, and Kennedy's gone through the back of Rodri. I think he might have got something on the ball, to be fair to him, but that is just not permitted in this day and age. He's gone through the back of the player. He's definitely made contact with Rodri. He may have got something on the ball, but he's got plenty of the player as well. Referee didn't like the nature of the challenge. Not only does he give a free kick, he also gives a yellow card, and in fact it was Alexander that made that tackle, not John Kennedy. Woke up those bleach blonde highlights in the hair, but it is Alexander, the substitute, that has been booked. It's a second booking for Fluminense now. Marcelo, before he was replaced, he picked up a yellow card, and now the substitute Alexander also goes into the book for that slightly wild challenge, I would say, on the Manchester City midfielder. Yeah, just looking back on that chance, the cross from wide from Samuel Javier, gathered by Ederson. Javier may have been in offside position. If that ball had found its way into the back of the net, it would have been interesting to see what VAR had to say about it, but it was brilliant awareness from Ederson. You can see when the player picks up the ball out wide, he moves from his goal line to his 6-yard line, and once the cross is played, he sprints from that 6-yard line out to about the penalty area. So it's only a 5 or 6 yard sprint that he has to make, but by doing that, he was there, he was ready to gather, and he was unchallenged, and then he was able to distribute quickly and get City going in the other direction. But it has been a bit more of a challenge for Ederson this season in terms of clean sheets so far. Only 4 Premier League clean sheets this season from 16 matches. He got 7 clean sheets in 11 appearances as City won the Champions League for the first time last season. He only conceded 4 goals in the Champions League last term. But he recorded that clean sheet against the Japanese side, Urawa Reds. And Pep Guardiola will be hoping that they can record the clean sheet here and then bring that stability back to the Premier League, where it has been that little bit tougher of late for them. Not only did they record a clean sheet against Urawa Reds, but they restricted the team, the opponents, to no shots on target. I think only 2 shots on goal in the entire game. I can tell you what, Pep Guardiola is not one bit happy with that tackle. He's not saying anything to the fourth official, but cameraman honed in on Guardiola. You can just tell from his face that he is disgusted with the tackle that's gone in on Rodri. Rodri is very shook up. It's taken him a long time to get to his feet and shake that one off. It was definitely a bit of a naughty tackle there from Alexander. Guardiola just checking that he's okay. But I think Guardiola wants to see a bit more protection from his players. We've seen some strong tackles from some of these Fluminense players. Some of them have been hard but fair, but that one from Alexander definitely overstepped the mark. Referee reacting with the yellow card. Rodri okay to continue for now. Of course, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne have missed pretty much all of the season so far. Erling Haaland with a little bit of an injury issue at the moment. Jeremy Doku as well. So he won't want to lose players ahead of their return to domestic duties, particularly Rodri. We know what the stats are like when Rodri isn't in that City team. But City may have just killed the game off. A low ball into the penalty area has been turned home by Phil Foden. Foden raises his hand aloft. The Manchester City fan, he may have just scored the goal that secures Manchester City their first ever FIFA Club World Cup crown. Manchester City 3, Fluminense 0. They've been dogged in this second half, Fluminense. They've tried to cling in there against a fairly relentless Manchester City attack, but it looks like they've finally been wore down in the end. It's Kovacic with the little ball around the corner to Julian Alvarez, who just smashes it across the face of goal, and alert and ready to turn home on the slide was Phil Foden. Outside of the boot. Clever play from Foden. He might have actually used his studs to turn it home in the end. But that's just the basics of football. Alvarez gets into a position where he knows it's difficult to score from, so he just lash one across the face of goal, hope someone's there, and Phil Foden was. Just like that, it's Manchester City 3, Fluminense 0. Pep Guardiola now, I think, recognise that this game is probably as good as done, and he's getting ready to make a couple of changes. There's a Fluminense player down, and that is Nino. We saw him down earlier holding his knee, and I think the captain might be getting set to be replaced. Rodri is down again. This is not good for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. He looks to have had a lot of problems off the back of that tackle from Alexander. Hopefully this will be nothing long term. Hopefully it's just one of those impact injuries. Fluminense will also make a change here as well. Getting ready to come on is the 28-year-old centre back Marlon. He's currently on loan from the Ukrainian club Shakhtar Donetsk. Marlon is on here for Fluminense, and it is the stricken captain Nino that has been replaced. A bruising evening for Nino, an own goal, and now having to be replaced early due to injury. Rodri is going to be taken off here. No further risk required here in leaving Rodri on the pitch. The job is done for Manchester City, 3 goals up. So Guardiola and Akanji are both going to come on for their second appearances of the competition. Akanji started the semi-final win, while Guardiola appeared off the bench. John Stones will be the other player replaced here by Pep Guardiola. Guardiola didn't have to wait long to get his hands on silverware following his move from Red Bull Leipzig. Big transfer fee, believed to be €90 million, paid for him in August following his standout performances at the back for Croatia at the World Cup in Qatar last year. He marked his City debut with a clean sheet in the Premier League opener against Burnley before scoring in the penalty shootout as City won the UEFA Super Cup against Sevilla just a few days later. This is now his 20th appearance in all competitions, including that substitute appearance in the semi-final win last time out. And as for Akanji, I mentioned it during my semi-final commentary. City can see them paying out fees like 90 million for Guardiola. Of course, Jeremy Doku, I think it was 60 million they paid to bring him to the club in the summer. Other big transfer fees paid out down the years, but Akanji has been a real bargain buy by Manchester City standards, following his move from Borussia Dortmund in September of last year. Just 20 million euros paid for him, and this is now appearance number 23 of the season if you include the UEFA Super Cup and the Community Shield. I know some people don't include those games, but it's another trophy that Akanji looks like he's about to get his hands on. We want to see out this clean sheet now for Manchester City. Ederson just forced into that one real significant save before half time off a Fluminense corner. Aside from that, he really hasn't had to work too hard in the Manchester City goals. They knew this would be a step up in terms of quality of opposition from Urawa to Fluminense today, Manchester City, but I would suggest this has been an even better performance than the one they put on just a few days ago. As Fluminense again direct a cross into the Manchester City penalty area, but nobody able to get ahead on it. I think the Fluminense players now perhaps head starting to drop, perhaps realising this game, this final, has got away from them. I didn't appreciate and like all the commentary in the lead up to the game from the British press regarding the age of some of these Fluminense players, but I definitely think the tempo of this game has caught up with Fluminense, and it caught up with them quite early on. They were able to go and press Manchester City with real aggression in the opening 15-20 minutes, but once City got a goal and then 2 goals in front, you could see them starting to wilter, and City here could be set for another as the ball is played into Grealish. Ball breaks the way of Bernardo Silva. Silva didn't really get the cleanest of strikes on it. Bit of a skewed shot off his left foot from inside the area, hits the side net, but there could be more goals on here for Manchester City. Into the last 15 minutes, City in cruise control and on their way to yet another trophy, set to become the first ever English side to hold the Premier League title, the FA Cup trophy, the Champions League title, the UEFA Super Cup, and now the FIFA Club World Cup, all at the one time. They'll join Liverpool, Chelsea, and of course their big city rivals Manchester United as FIFA Club World Cup champions. Kanji has the ball in the centre of the park now for Manchester City. Another defender that is more than comfortable stepping into midfield areas and building attacks for Manchester City when required. I think that's a pre-requirement. If you want to play for City, you have to be good on the ball no matter where you play. I imagine even the kit man is quite handy in the five-a-sides. They're just blessed with incredible amounts of talent, Manchester City. It's difficult to argue that they are the best club team on the planet. It's going to take a good team to stop them. Retaining that Champions League crown as well hasn't been easy for teams to win back-to-back Champions League, although Real Madrid made a bit of a habit of it over the last decade or so. But prior to Madrid's dominance, it was very difficult for teams to retain the Champions League, but it's going to take a really, really good side to stop Manchester City. They went through the group stages with a perfect record, won all 5 of their group games. Real Madrid the only other side to manage that. And, I think it's the likes of City. Oh, there's a shot from John Kennedy. Ederson turns it behind for a corner. Rare bit of work for Ederson to do, but John Kennedy's definitely added a bit of spark off the bench. Nice little cut inside there, a little Cruyff turn to get away from a couple of City defenders, open up a yard or two of space. He was still a long way out with the strike though, got plenty behind it though, and does win his team a corner. And as we saw earlier in the game, they do carry threat off these set pieces. Can they at least give their fans a consolation goal to cheer? We made that journey from Brazil here to Saudi Arabia for this FIFA Club World Cup final. In swinger, Ederson comes and gets a big set of gloves on it, punches it away a long distance. It's gathered in the middle of the park by Javier. He gets the ball out wide to the left hand side where there's a cross switched out towards the far side of the pitch towards Herman Cano, but it's intercepted by Guardiola and he nods it back to Ederson. And that is as good as it got for the time being for Fluminense, that long range shot from John Kennedy. Ederson, not the first time we've seen that in the game, just a little bit too carefree with his passing out from the back. He gives the ball away to Fluminense, but Phil Foden, still full of energy and running, he wins the ball back for City, and then he is met with a foul by Martinelli. Samuel Javier came in and just added a further little kick there to Phil Foden. Some of the City players not happy about that. They feel the Fluminense players at times here are just overstepping the mark. The referee's keeping a close eye on things, and Pep Guardiola now is taking off some of his star players here, making sure they're well protected, well rested ahead of return to Premier League duties in the coming weeks. Phil Foden, who just took that little knock, he's going to be replaced by one of City's upcoming stars. That is the 20-year-old Norwegian international Oscar Bob. Nathan Ake also replaced here. Coming on for the Dutchman will be Matheus Nunes, who is still awaiting his first Manchester City goal following his move from Wolverhampton Wanderers in the summer. But of course it was Nunes' cross that led to an own goal, the opening goal of the game in the semi-final against the Reds of Japan. So probably as good as a goal, that one, because don't forget that game was 0-0 up until that own goal right on the stroke at half time. They were a very hard team to break down, Urawa Reds, and who knows if that own goal didn't go in, it could have been a different second half for Manchester City. But they scored early in the second half and then they just cruised through the game, and they've done similar here. Got the lead and they've never looked back, Manchester City. Fluminense now simply looking to put a bit of shine on the scoreboard as we head into the last 7.5, 8 minutes of normal time. Dropping deep here to try and start the attack is Andre. Kennedy's come deep now to get on the ball here, get a few touches for Fluminense. He's closed down by Oscar Bob. John Kennedy's too strong there for the youngster, just pushes him to one side. Oscar Bob wanted a free kick. Referee lets play go on. I have to say he's done an excellent job, the ref. I know there has been a couple of those challenges that have been a little bit on the edge from Fluminense players, but he's been quick to punish those with yellow cards. He's let the game flow. He hasn't really bought into any of the hysterics. There's been a few players in his ear throughout the game, the likes of Felipe Melo, been very vocal out there, but the referee, as we saw in the World Cup, he's just stuck to his task out there. He hasn't bought into any of the drama. He's kept it moving along nicely, the game, and I think that's why he's getting all these high profile games. World Cup final, Club World Cup final, Champions League final. He looks to be the best whistler in the business at the moment, and long may it continue, because it's not too often you hear commentators talking about referees in a positive light these days, particularly in the age of VAR. But this is a referee who has an excellent game today. Unfortunately, who was at the centre of a VAR controversy recently, Champions League game in Paris between PSG and Newcastle. He awarded PSG that very controversial late penalty. There's been very little controversy to talk about today, and hopefully I'll be saying exactly the same in another 7 or 8 minutes when the final whistle goes. Match officials will get a set of medals after this, and so far very much deserving of that. A nice memento for years down the line when they hang up the whistle and the flags and the cards. They can look back on what they achieved. Nunes, he's been fouled, and the referee will have to reach to his notebook once again. It is the substitute John Kennedy. I thought it was him earlier that fouled Rodri. It was of course the other player with the bleached blonde hair, Alexander, but this time John Kennedy has gone through the back of a Manchester City player, and he knew exactly what he was doing there as well. He's gone in with a slide tackle. Nunes has skipped by him, and he's then just raised his other leg to make sure he catches the player and trips him up, and the referee punishes him for that cynical tackle with a yellow card. There's also a tackle from another Fluminense player there, Marlon. I think it was just after Nunes went down after the foul from John Kennedy. Marlon came sliding in, and he's caught Nunes in the face with, I think, the side of his hip or maybe even his knee. It's a nasty blow. It was accidental from Marlon, but we have seen a few Fluminense players now lunging in quite recklessly. I think Pep Guardiola will be glad to see the full-time whistle go in the next few minutes, because he's already got a little bit of a concern now about the knock Rodri picked up. Hopefully nothing too serious, but he won't want to see those tackles going in on his Manchester City players in a game that, for all intents and purposes, is as good as done here. That's a bit of a loose pass from Akanji, maybe just taking a while to warm to the occasion after coming off the substitutes bench. He was looking for a pass out to the right hand side. Instead he finds the touchline. Fluminense looking to build from the back now. Andre dropping into his own penalty area, quickly closed down by Julian Alvarez. Alvarez sticking to his man really well here, sticking to the task, but Andre does well to wriggle away from him, find a pass to Martinelli. Andre was fouled, referee gives the free kick. Fluminense trying to move through the gears. How many more gears have they got left? They do look a little bit leggy to me. Even the substitute Lima there with a bit of a sloppy pass. He looked lively when he came on at first, but that burst of energy he showed off the bench has quickly fizzled out. Here's Marlon. Marlon with the ball over the top towards Arias, who has been the bright spark for me throughout this game. He's carried a threat down the wing. We just haven't seen him in possession enough. Manchester City have dominated the football first and second half. As a result, the danger man Arias, who has set up a huge amount of goals for Fluminense this season, he hasn't been able to affect the game the way he'd like. 12 goals in all competitions for Arias this season, including that goal from the spot in the semi-final win against Al Ahly last time. He's been starved of the ball by Manchester City. This greedy, relentless Manchester City team. They just want more and more and more success in silverware, and that's why they are the top club on the planet right now. Kanji is possessed, but tracking back there by Alexander. Couldn't afford to just stick out a lazy leg there, Alexander, or he would have been off, having already been booked. Throw into Manchester City, just inside the Fluminense half. Bernardo Silva to Nunes, back to Silva again. Guardiola turning on the afterburners, breaking into the Fluminense half, where he finds Kovacic. Kovacic is not as keen to run that quick. He just slows things down, puts his foot on the ball. He gives a little good look to Guardiola. I think it's as much to say, get back in position. Leave it to the attackers, and one of the attackers on the move now is Nunes. Nunes with a lovely cut back to Julian Alvarez. Oh, that is clinical from Alvarez. He got the opening goal of the game, and he very well may have got the last goal as well, and had the final say on this FIFA Club World Cup final. The Argentinian World Cup winner, Julian Alvarez, with a brace to secure Manchester City the FIFA Club World Cup. So often he has to play second fiddle to a man called Erling Haaland, and I think if he was with any other team in the Premier League, he would be their out and out number 9. He is an extremely good centre forward, Julian Alvarez. And that was a clinical finish. One touch to set, little check inside, then bit of deception to get away from Andre, so 2 touches to steady himself, and then he just drills the ball past the helpless Fabio, who is full stretch. It's into the bottom left hand corner. Manchester City 4, Fluminense 0 in the FIFA Club World Cup final. Guardiola arms aloft, City 4 to the good. Guardiola about to collect a 4th FIFA Club World Cup title. Twice a winner of this competition with Barcelona, 10 years ago with Bayern Munich, and a decade later about to get his hands on that trophy again with Manchester City. City have won it back again through Grealish. Now it's Bernardo Silva. It's 4 against 4 momentarily here for Manchester City. Grealish, Fluminense slowly getting bodies back now, but they look extremely leggy and stretched. No surprise if City score again. Fluminense players lunging in with aimless tackles here, and Kovacic weaving past them into the penalty area. Eventually a Fluminense player manages to get a boot to the ball, but those are the tackles of very tired players. They just haven't been able to live with the pace and the tempo of the game set by Manchester City. That was the fear when you looked at the age profile of this Fluminense team. If City hit top gear, you always feared for them. Showing a nice little turn of foot here now, though, is John Kennedy, who has looked lively off the bench. Easy to see why he scored so many goals in Brazil this season, and indeed in the Copa Libertadores.